Hi, everybody, and welcome to Truth Teller Tales, where I am dedicated to interview those warriors of our day to be documented for many, many years to come. And today, oh my gosh, today I have somebody he's a poet, he's an author, he's a public speaker, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a fearless warrior for truth. And I have watched him for years. So the fact that I get to talk to him for a minute is the greatest thing ever. And I can't wait for you all to hear this and watch this. Mark Attwood, woohoo! The legend himself.
Oh, legend. I'm a legend.
This is and people had made suggestions. You need to try to get this person, you need to try to get that person, you need to try to get Mark Attwood, you need to try to, and I'm like, I'm trying. So this is so cool. How are you doing today?
Well, it's a beautiful sunny day here for a serious change in Ireland, and
Oh, nice.
I've been oiling and painting wood most of the day in between meetings and kids and stuff.
So you're painting wood?
Yeah, I'm just doing a bit of home improvement and stuff.
Oh, okay. Got you. Very cool. Well, I want to talk about like things happening right now at the end, but I really, want to talk about your life and um kind of your growing up and where all that started, where you were born and you as a kid. So tell me about you growing up.
Well, I got born in Northamptonshire, which is a county in the middle of England, in 1969. It's a long time ago, and I was, yeah, I was. What can I say? First house I lived in was number 13. I was born on the 13th
Oh,
of April, 1969,
oh,
which is 33/6 in whatever that's called. And then I didn't know this then. My first memory is demons trying to recruit me in my bedroom.
what?
I was about 5 years old, and
Wow. What was
yeah,
that?
and I was,
What was that all about?
well, I know what it was about now, but at the time it was just horrific. It was like every night they would come into the room and then start promising me things, and I'd be like, "No, go away, go away." And I was only small. It was during the there was a strike in England in 1973 where the satanic paedophile Prime Minister Edward Heath at the time put the whole of the UK was on a 3-day week, which means that there was only electricity for 3 days a week.
Mm.
So, my mum would bring in this tea light candle for me as a child before she said goodnight to me. And the tea light would sit next to me there, and the wall was there. And after she left the room, I used to sit up in the bed, and there'd be a shadow here where there should be because the candle was there. But there was another shadow on the other wall that was like not like a normal shadow. It was like very sharply outlined, and it had horns on its head. And I'd be sitting up and down, I'd be doing this, and it would copy me and all of that. And then all these faces would come at me, and yeah, I just
Oh,
remember them. And it's something. It was like one of those memories, and that I blocked out for years. And I think I first mentioned it about 6 years ago. I've told this story before where I went on a podcast and this just came out, and I was like, after the podcast, I was like, oh my god, I've just talked about demons online. I'm ruined. My business is ruined. Everything's ruined. And then I got thousands of emails from people saying same thing happened to me or similar things. And I've never told anybody either. And then I was like, oh, maybe there is a reason why I started doing this,
yeah,
you know? Um,
yes.
so yeah, that was my first memory. And then I spent my whole childhood dreaming of flying, and became a pilot before I could drive, and joined the RAF, and I was in the Royal Air Force. And while I was in it, I met Prince Philip, and Prince Philip was the Queen's husband, and he gave me an award at St James's Palace in London. And I remember I went in uniform because I delayed this thing by a year or so because my father had died, and I turned up in my uniform, and he shook my hand and he said, "I see you've joined and he didn't recognize my uniform, and I at the time I was like, God bless you, God bless the royal family and all that. and I couldn't understand it. I mean, he was made commandant of the RAF in 1958, so it was very strange for me that somebody had to whisper "Royal Air Force" in his ear. And
Yeah.
I left the palace that day with my mum in her best gear, saying, "Who am I working for, Mum? I don't get it." And she went, "Oh," I can't remember what she said, but and then there was a few other things like I grew. It was quite interesting because the village I grew up in was there was a religious cult that started there, and the cult was started by the lay preacher in the village church, and that lay preacher had sexually abused my dad when he was a 10-year-old choir boy. I didn't know this until years later, and that church ended up getting closed down about 8 years ago because of the hundreds of millions of pounds of lawsuits against them for paedophilia. But
Oh,
but I saw this cult grow up around me. So what I'm getting to is that I was being prepared. I came here from somewhere else. I was attacked as soon as I got here. In fact, there was an abortion attempt on me in the womb as well, and that's another story. But and it's only as time's gone by that it all pieces together that I was put in these. I was being trained really for this
yeah.
time, and I knew, and I was really started to become a conspiracy theorist after I left the RAF, and which is like 35 years ago or more, and
I have
loads.
so many questions. I have so many questions. Oh my gosh. Well, let's go back to when did you find out about the abortion attempt? Did your mom tell you that?
Yes, but it was, the way things are given, the way stories are told to children. Not in my, uh, as a father, I've always been completely honest with my kids. I told them Santa Claus wasn't real when they were little. It broke their hearts, but they know that
Yeah,
I has never lied to them.
yeah.
But stories get told to children, in my experience, in a kind of fluffy way. So
Right.
I did know about it when I was younger, but it was only as I got older that I started to realize exactly what that meant and how that I don't want to go into the details of it because some of the people involved are still alive. So
Mm,
and what I've come to the other thing is I've come to realize that the whole world was demonically possessed to some degree, if not possessed,
mhm.
controlled and influenced
Right.
by fourth dimensional entities that know who we are before we come in, that knew
Mm,
this time was coming and been trying to stop it, that have been feeding off us for a very, very long time and kept us all in the dark with the veil down. And that veil's been lifting for quite a long time. A lot of people in their 90s now knew about this, stuff 40, 50 years ago. And those of us that are on a mission, and I don't mean that in any grandiose way. I just mean that's exactly what my life is.
right.
It's. I know it's a mission now.
Yes.
I didn't understand that, but it's only as time's gone by, and you look back and piece it all together. You go, "Oh my God, yeah, that's true." And I just had a meeting with somebody. I was saying the same thing. It's like you only get to know what you need to know. It's a need. Everything's on a need to know basis. So you only, your mission would be jeopardized if you knew everything.
Yep.
So
Yes.
you get the guidance. You either follow the guidance or you don't. And if you and
Mhm.
in my case, every time I didn't follow, every time I made the wrong choices, I got slapped round the face by God with a big wet fish until I realized, oh, okay, I'll go that way. And I think that's really a big part of it. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, go on.
So
Sorry.
so as a child, did you have siblings? One question, and two, those demon visions that you had, were you terrified? Did you run out of the room? I mean, how did you have the strength to go back in that room every night? I mean, it's just so
I've
many
never been
thoughts.
afraid. I've never been afraid of them. It's like I knew them. I did know them. I knew them.
Wow.
And I've known them my whole life, and they've been messing with me, or trying to mess with me my whole life, and that's kind of like it's an ancient war,
Yeah.
and I know I was never afraid of them, and I've met the devil twice and had chats with him, and yeah, I'm not afraid of him at all. He's actually those demons are actually doing us all a favor,
Mhm.
bizarrely, because without them, we wouldn't be able to grow the way that we have. So,
Right.
so I'm grateful for everything, and I love everybody.
Yeah.
But also, this is like, I view this place as a school and
Yes.
a testing ground for our souls. And we chose it all. And not only did we choose it all, we're creating it all, and we're all fractals of God. So, when you understand it from that point of view, you have a slightly I have a slightly different. I mean, somebody said to me earlier, "Oh, you're so brave to stand up," and she started crying in front of me, and I was like, "What are you crying for?" The, it's like you get faced with a genocide, you get faced with the New World Order, and you've got children, right? And then I got to make a decision: am I going to stand up, or am I going to let this happen? And it's not a case of starting a podcast. Doesn't seem like the bravest thing in the world to do. It's not like we should have stormed Parliament. We should have taken these guys out. But I'm a 50-year-old man. I didn't have a gun. I didn't know what else could I do. I don't know. I'll write some poems and I'll start talking.
Yes.
And I had no idea why. I just knew I had to. And
Yeah.
and I was, but I did know. The one thing I would say is, and a lot of people might not realize this, but because I'd been studying it for so long, I knew that there was a plan, the New World Order plan. There was a plan to put dots on the doors of people like me, round us up, and put us in the guillotine. And I knew that was a very real possibility in 2020. And I decided, well, if that happens, it happens. I'm not going to go down without a fight. And I want to make sure that my kids know I did something.
Yeah.
That was my, very simple decision. It's not anything other than it's just the right thing to do.
Exactly. So before I get to that too, so do you have siblings, and were you the kid that always questioned things?
Oh, yeah.
Wha- Yeah.
Yeah, I was a pain in the backside. Yeah. My nickname was, I had a lot of nicknames, but one of them was Know It All.
Yeah.
I knew everything. Every time anybody said anything, I'd go, "Yeah, I know that." So I was very annoying. Um, I'm
Any
very,
brothers and sisters?
yeah. I had a brother. I have a brother. I think he's on his sixth vaccine now, and
Oh my gosh.
won't talk to me. Whenever I bring up that subject, he stops talking to me for a year or 2 years at a time. Um, yeah, he was vaccine damaged as a child, and he was born blind. And
Oh,
yeah, and then I was vaccinated at the age of 5, I think, and I got meningitis. So I've got a big beef about the whole vaccine thing. And
yeah. Wow.
I didn't know
Wow.
that until, as time's gone by, you realize all this has happened to you, and mercury
Hmm.
fillings, and all sorts of poisons that they try. You see, that all they've got is fear. And then
Hmm.
you've got these choices all the time. It's like there's only two voices in your head. It's God and the devil. It's good and bad. And you
Right.
either listen to this or you listen to this. And once you
Yes.
understand that, you're like, okay, every day, every moment of every day is a micro decision for people to make. And COVID was like the big one for everybody. The whole world had
Yeah.
to make a decision.
Yeah.
And it's a spiritual war. And
Yes.
it's
It
incredible.
is. It is incredible. And I know, that some things that you have on your website that God wins. So God wins. So we know it. That, yes. Yes. That's
I
right.
just I just got this today, this morning. This is like the second edition of this book, God Wins,
Oh my
which
gosh.
is now
I
on
can't.
Amazon. Literally today came live
Oh,
because
yeah. I'm
yeah.
so glad we're talking about it. I'll definitely be getting mine. Oh my goodness. So, so you
Oh, you
had
got one of my books. You got one of my books behind you.
which one?
Nothing. Why nothing can stop what's coming. I published that.
Oh, wait.
The white
Yes.
one with the Q on the front.
Oh, this. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's right. Forwarded by you. Yes. I
It's
love
got
when stuff like this happens because
yeah.
it's always there. It's not just here because I'm interviewing you. So, oh my gosh, this is just all so cool. And my birthday's in April too, by the way, Mark. But you know, so in high school, you're continually dreaming about flying. So in high school, did you just know I'm gonna go in this direction? I want to fly. You just knew all along, and is that what you did right then?
Well, I knew since I was about 7, and I was always running away from school and being sent into the corridor and being naughty in class. I was naughty. I was always naughty, and but when I got to about 13 or 14, I was like, hang on a minute. If I'm going to get into the RAF, I've got to buckle down, and I've got to pass these exams. I've got to be fit. I've got to do all of this stuff. So I focused on that, and
Hmm.
it was my life's dream. And and I left it. I got in. I got the highest score they'd given in 22 years, and
Wow.
then I knew I could leave, and I was like, okay, I'm going to leave now. And they were like, "What? Are you insane? You're like, it was very hard to get in. Very few people got in at that level, and out of tens of thousands of people that applied,
Wow.
and I wrote a resignation letter, and I was like, I'm off, and then I just went off on my adventure called life. But yeah, I knew it was. I've just been guided my whole life. I just didn't realize it.
Mhm.
You know, took me a
Yeah.
while to work that out.
And so I want to go back to the experience when you were in the RAF and you saw Prince Philip, um, and he didn't know your uniform. Obviously, that stuck with you, but did that make you question things back then? When did you start thinking, "Wait a minute,
Well,
what's going on here?"
I mean, knowing what I know now, he'd probably just come up from the dungeons after drinking adrenochrome, and obviously I didn't know that at the time. But then there were a few other things that happened. Like two of my friends committed suicide, one of which was covered up, and I saw the way that everybody responded to death was so cold. I was like, I can't do this. And then because they do work hard on you in terms of dehumanizing the enemy.
Yeah.
So, I'd be in the officers' mess, and a lot of the guys would be talking about ragheads, meaning people in the Middle East,
Mhm.
and bombing them. And I was like, well, aren't we being trained to bomb villages full of children and mothers? And they were like, yeah, it's just ragheads. And I'd be like, hang on a minute. I can't, I'm not going to do this. And then because I met Prince Philip that time, I was like, well, who am I working for? Because the Queen was the boss, right? And
Right.
I was like, I didn't like him at all. I mean, I can still feel his hand, his bony handshake, and his leather skin. He had this leather skin. He wasn't human. I'm 100% convinced he was not human. And I got such a bad vibe off him. And then, another friend committed suicide. And then I saw that the British government were lying to the people in the papers. And then I was like, this is really bizarre. I mean, that was quite funny, actually, because I saw this statement from Margaret Thatcher about nuclear weapons, and I was flying over this stuff, and I was like, hang on, why are they lying? And some people might say, well, it's a good idea to keep secrets from people. And I just didn't, I've just never liked that. I've never liked the lie. I understand tactical reasons for certain things, but it was just the blatant lying. And I thought, well, if they're lying about this, what else are they lying about?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to be part of this. And I've got nothing
Right.
against service. I think service people are the greatest people in the world. And there's a
Right.
lot of great stuff in the military. I
Hmm.
think every young man should go through military training. It's brilliant. Or every
Yeah.
young woman, everybody should go through it because you learn discipline, camaraderie, fitness, map
Hmm.
stuff that you need, how to hunt,
Right.
map reading, how to survive, loads of great stuff. But when it came to killing people, who are you killing people for? That was the
Right.
thing that hit me. So that's why I got out. That's why I resigned. And yeah, but the funny thing was that I remember reading that article. I think it was 1988, 89, and it was in the Daily Telegraph, which is a famous paper in the UK.
Hmm.
A few years later, I was working in the Daily Telegraph in the office next to Max Hastings, massive Satanist, this huge guy in the newspaper world. And I was there. Somehow I was there. It was like surreal. And my life's been like that. I've just been in these weird positions because I think God put me into all these positions so I could talk with authority about stuff, but also so I'd see. I was very close to a lot of bad people over a long period of time. Yeah.
And when did you know that they were bad people? And then did you reflect back and
Well, it's only looking back, after that, I didn't know Max Hastings was a bad guy then. I didn't know Prince Philip was a bad, as far as I was
yeah,
concerned, he was like the King of England. So uh,
right.
it's only it's only my feelings then that then the research in years later made me go, oh, that's weird. Why was I there? Why was I in this position? All sorts of strange stuff. I mean, yeah. Anyway, go on.
And so no, I mean it's just fascinating. And so you worked for the Daily Telegraph, and what did you do there?
I was a journalist.
Wow, and how was that experience?
It was weird. There were at the time the Telegraph was based in Canary Wharf, and I had to get this London's Light Dockland Railway in there, and everybody was in sardines, and this really put me off London forever. I was like, I can't live here. This place is insane. All these people are insane getting in this box, getting up at 6 or 5 a.m. to get somewhere for 8:30 to work. I couldn't understand it. Anyway, I remember getting there, and I was like, first day, I was like Clark Kent on his first day at the Daily Planet. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. And then all the journalists would come in over the next couple of hours, massive hangovers. Then
Mhm.
they would mess about for a bit, write a bit, and then there was this boat at the back of the Daily Telegraph that had 3 tiers for lunch, and the bottom level was for the I don't know, the cleaners. The second level was for the journalists and the sub editors, and the top level was for the editors, and they had champagne at the top level. Everybody, without question, got absolutely hammered over a 3-hour lunch, and then they come back in the office about 4, really drunk, and then they skip off. And one of the things, I worked for this features editor, and I couldn't believe that the way they got their stories. They got all the papers and magazines from around the country delivered. This is pre-internet, and they go through and they just nick stories, and they go, oh, that's a good one, we'll have that, and they just rewrite it. And then while I was there, I learned one of the biggest lessons in my life. And I remember I was having lunch with this features writer who'd been working there for 20 years, and he'd been headhunted from being the creator of the Gay Times in the 60s. I think it was called the Gay Times. And I said to him over lunch, I said, well, how is it, do you enjoy working for the Daily Telegraph? And he said, and he was very camp, he was a very funny guy. And he said, well, I've only ever had one headline make it through the sub editors. And I went, what was that? He said, well, I did a piece on the Archers' 25th birthday or something like that. The Archers is a Radio 4 soap opera in England, and it's got this very specific theme tune. And I said, what was it? He said, Tumty 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 Tum. And that was the only headline he'd ever written in 20 years that they'd not changed. See, and then the funny thing was, from there, 5 years later, I made a TV comedy show about a journalist, and I played the journalist, and it was all about fake news. He was faking. In the TV show that I wrote, and I was in it. He ran over an old woman. He blackmailed a politician for paedophilia in Morocco. This is like 1996. I
Oh my
wrote it.
gosh.
I did a comedy show about fake news in 1996, and because it was so. And I remember going. They wanted to make a TV series out of it, and I had a meeting with the executives, and they went, "Well, it's could you make it a bit more like that?" They didn't want me to talk about this because I was calling them out, and they wanted me to go and do silly stuff instead. And I was like, no, this is really important because this is like the nature of television and Dennis Potter and all of this kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
they didn't want me to do that. But again, that was a great experience because I learned about TV, and I learned about journalism. And this is all before I was like 20, 26. And I learned about
Wow.
military. I learned about also I studied economics for 3 years, did a degree, and nobody once mentioned the fractional reserve banking system. So I actually studied economics for 5 years. And when I found out, when I read Edward Griffin's book,
Yes,
The Creature from
Jekyll
Jekyll,
Isle. Hmm.
I was like, I remember reading it, going, "What? Why did nobody mention this?
Yeah.
What?"
Yes.
So, and then I realized all the economists who are on TV talking shit are trained by the universities that are not telling them fundamental information. It's the same with the doctors. It's the same with the physicists. Same with the chemists. Same with all of them. And then
Right.
I started realizing, well, all of these disciplines within the intellectual world, the academic world, are controlled by gatekeepers. You know, you've got Einstein was a Rothschild gatekeeper for physics. You've got Darwin as a Rothschild gatekeeper for biology. I mean, the list goes on. You know, and then all these theories are used as bedrocks for bullshit that train people to become experts and professors in stuff, and then they become the thought leaders that have run our mind prison that we call the
Yep.
Matrix.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I mean, Mark, but the fact that, you were educating yourself and figuring all that out back then, how did you possibly have conversations with people? I mean, people must have been like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, I wasn't like crazy conspiracy theorist in my 20s. I actually became a socialist for a bit,
Ah,
which was, well, because I thought, maybe the way out of, because you could see the world was a terrible state, and bombings, wars going on everywhere. Read my lips, New World Order, all that
yeah.
stuff. And back then it was, I was still in the left-right pigeonhole, and I was like, well, maybe socialism's the answer, because that way we can have a fairer society, and disabled people would be, have opportunities and equal rights for women and all that stuff. Because there's a lot of that I like.
Yep.
You should take care of people, right?
Of
So
course.
socialism gets you that way. It gets you by
Right.
the heart, and then
Exactly.
and then the right gets you with the brain and the wallet. And
Mhm.
actually, neither of them are true. They're just, well, we know this now, but back
Right.
then, I was just like, so. But it was later on. It was a bit later on. I think it was a couple of big things happened. I had a suspected heart attack in Spain at my
Oh,
friend's wedding.
why?
It
What?
wasn't. Yeah, well, I swam out to this thing near Barcelona. I swam out to this thing in a very strong tide, this platform in the sea, and it was I was three-quarters of the way there, and I was like, oh my god, this is, if I stop, I want to stop swimming right now because I'm exhausted, and I thought I've got to keep going. So I got to it, and then I was like, how am I going to get? Anyway, I got back, and my doctor friend said, you've had a cardiac event, you need to go to hospital. And I went, what's a cardiac event? He said, well, you could drop dead any minute. And I went, oh. I said, but it's my friend's wedding tonight. He said,
Oh,
yeah, but you should go to hospital. And I said, no, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die with a whiskey in one hand and a cigar in the other. I've always had that attitude. So
ah,
anyway, I got on the plane, got back, got put in intensive care in
oh,
hospital in Stockport near Manchester. And that was on September the 10th, 2001. And I woke up the next day, and the doctor came in, and he said, no, you've not had a heart attack. It's just that all the enzymes in your body were going like a footballer in pre-season training. You just pushed the muscles too hard. And we measured it the wrong way. And it's a different enzyme that comes out your heart. You're going to be fine, but you need to stay in here for a week. Now, I'd just woken up. The guy next to me was a 17-year-old kid, had died overnight. The night before, the nurse had told me, I said, am I going to die? And she said, you might do. I was like, well, that's not very positive, is it?
wow.
And then my girlfriend at the time came in, and I said, well, what's been going on? She said, 2 planes have just crashed into the World Trade Center. I went, fuck off. Really? And she's, sorry for my language, but I do swear.
It's okay.
I'm English. You have to forgive me. And
That's okay.
and she's, I went, what? And so I unplugged myself, went to the TV, saw this. And the funny thing was, I predicted this about 6 months earlier in a business meeting with a load of security people, because they were talking about how to keep data safe. And I said, well, what if somebody flew planes into it? What would you do then? And and there we were watching these planes. But what I
Wow.
didn't realize were two things. Well, firstly, I didn't realize that my school friend was in the towers.
Oh.
Jeff Campbell died that morning, and I was watching his death, but I didn't realize it. And then I checked myself out of the hospital. I didn't check myself out; I just walked out. And then I got a phone call when I got home from the nurse said, "If you die while you're out, it's your own fault." I said, "Yes, I know." That, that was God teaching me about health sovereignty when
Yeah.
you're responsible for your own health, and I'm doing well, and I have done ever since. And
Yay.
but then because my best friend at school was Jeff's brother, so Matt Campbell, they're the last family still going, still trying to get justice 25 years later. And I spent a lot of time with Matt because Matt knew that something wasn't right. He was in New York. He met Clinton. He met Bush. He met Blair in the church in New York, at the cathedral. They got given a contract that thick, which must have taken years to write. 2 weeks after it happened, every family got given $1 million or thereabouts. And then I was over Matt's shoulder for the next 15 years while he was trying to get justice for his brother. And lots of weird stuff happened. And it was like at the same time, and then all sorts of other things happened. I met David Icke a few times, and it just got the consciousness was just expanding, and I just got more and more and more interested. What is going on with this world? And so a real pivotal moment for me is that I was doing stand-up comedy for about 8 years, and there was a guy called oh God, what's his name? There's this Canadian. There were these 4 Canadian comedians that I met at the Edinburgh Festival. One was called Craig Campbell, and this guy was called Alan Park. Now, Alan Park was a great stand-up, and he had TV shows in Canada, and he was great. But he got anyway. I'll tell you that story in a minute. I met Alan at a gig in Manchester, and then we went for a curry after the gig, and we started talking about this is in 1999. We were talking, it's all coming back to me, Ellen. We were talking about all the conspiracies in 1999. The internet was a baby, and he ended up giving me a copy of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. So I read that in 1999, and I was freaking out because at the same time we had this millennium bug. I don't know if you had that in America. There was a massive thing that all the computers were going to crash in the year 2000, and it was going to be a nightmare.
Yes, they did scare us about that. Yes.
Yeah, so I'd read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's been hundreds of year plan to wipe out humanity." Shit. And I went through all that fear, and I went through the millennium bug, and then it just spiraled. In fact, even back then, Alan put me in touch with some people in Canada that were building a community in northern Canada underground that had 20 years worth of food, guns, and everything. And they invited me to live there. That was like
wow.
I think that was in the year 2000. Anyway, I declined that and I carried on with my life. And then I ended up getting married, having 5 kids, moving to Morocco, and then moving here in 2017 in the west of Ireland. So yeah.
Wow. Well, before you go on, so did Alan Park actually go down underground, or did he just have it just in case?
Alan's story was interesting and tragic because he got really bad cancer, and in the 15 years ago, he started podcasting about the use of cannabis for cancer, and he became one of the most famous advocates in the whole world for using cannabis to get rid of cancer. And he fought it off for years and years, but unfortunately he passed a couple of years ago. But there was an interesting thing when I did, because I'd not seen him for nearly 25 years. And I got a message one day from somebody who said, "Oh, I'm friends with Alan Park and he watches your podcast and he'd love to say hello." And I had him on my show a couple of times in the early days of the podcast. And then Craig, who was one of the other Canadian comedians, got in touch with me as well. And because he'd been blacklisted by the comedy circuit in England, he couldn't get a gig and he was broke. And because he spoke out. So there were a couple of great Canadians that I became great friends with in the 51st state or the 52nd state of Canada?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
Canada and me, we go way back. I mean, when I was, you'll like this story. So in 1987, I was there on an exchange program, And I think I do sometimes forget some of the details, but what I do remember is that I met this USAF F-16 pilot on a Royal Canadian Air Force base. And I met his daughter. He introduced me to his daughter, who then invited me to go up in a Cessna 152 for a little flight. So I went up on this date in an aeroplane at the age of 17 with this 19-year-old gorgeous girl. And she was flying. And she flew, I think it was Vancouver Island. I'm pretty sure it was. Anyway, she did a steep turn at about 3,000 or 4,000 feet up and pointed down to this big manor house. And she said, you see that house down there over the intercom? I said, yeah. She said, that's the headquarters of the Satanists. And I went, the what? She said, yeah, if you wanted to get to that house by car, you would never get there unless you knew the secret way in.
Oh.
So I was freaked out by this. But then again, that was God showing me again.
Yeah.
You know, and I spent the next 2 weeks. I remember spending the next 2 weeks going into gas stations and stuff and going, is he a Satanist? Is they a Satanist? Freaking out, you know. So yeah, just loads of crazy.
My gosh, that is so wild. So you were a comedian for 9 years? Did you That's so cool.
Yeah, I'll show you one of the TV shows if you want.
Yeah.
Want to see a clip?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to do this for me anyway because yeah, I'll just show you a clip. Can I share the screen?
Yes.
Let's just show you a little clip.
That's wild.
I'm just going to find a good clip.
And this was all over. Where were you a comedian?
In the UK. Yeah, let me just get this clip up. I quite like this clip. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So it's very bad quality because this was VHS before, and then when I put it on YouTube about 20 years ago, it was like the tape had already gone a bit funny. But is this on screen? Can you see that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me just play this little bit. So this is me, the journalist, going to a politician's house to confront him with negatives from his council-funded trips to Morocco, where he was doing paedophilia stuff. And the reason he's going to his house because he wants him to punch him so that he can go on the news later to show that he was assaulted. So it's all fake news.
Oh, Johnny, this is Councillor Stamford's house. I know. Let's go. You again? I've got nothing to say to you.
Makes a change.
Why, Councillor Stamford, the public had a right to know.
I'm warning you, get off my property now. I've never even been to Morocco.
I bet you'd love to see the negatives.
Little shit. That's it.
Councillor, see you around.
I'll just show you the titles to this because this is he's on TV now, telling the newsreader that he got assaulted.
7:30 on Wednesday.
Yes, thank you very much. So you're saying that Councillor Stamford actually assaulted you for no apparent reason?
Well, I think the footage speaks for itself.
You. That's it.
The camera never lies.
Oh gosh.
Cue titles.
Oh.
Let's go.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't show that very often.
I love that. That's so.
But I didn't, even that, it was like just part of my history. And then when COVID happened and all this fake news, all that was coming out, I was like, hang on a minute, I did a show about fake news 30 years ago.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. That is so wild. That is crazy, but so good. You've done so much. My gosh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And so you ended up having how you have 5 children and lived in Morocco. What was that like living in Morocco?
Oh, that one. See, there you go again. That was God. Well, that's really funny, right? Because you saw that script that I wrote, and I wrote that script in 96, and the counselor there said, I've never even been to Morocco in that script. And then I ended up moving to Morocco 20 years later.
Wow, yeah.
This is the way it works, right?
Right.
So it was actually my wife's idea to move to Morocco. And I said, and at the time I was in the UK and I was really sick of it. I was sick of all the cameras everywhere. It was a police state back in 2014, 13. And I was like, yeah, what the hell? Let's go to Morocco. And at the time I was thinking, well, I'll go there, see what it's like. And, you know, the youngest kids were 5 at the time. And I was like, this is a great life experience for them. And we'll go to this Muslim country and we'll let the kids understand, because they will be in a minority in this country, and that will be a
Right.
great life lesson for them, because I don't want my kids to be racist or any of that stuff. So I was like, this would be a
Right.
great experience. So we got there, and the first thing that happened, so black magic is very well known in Morocco, right? So it's like everybody knows black magic is real. They don't know it in the UK or maybe even America, but they know it in Morocco. They know about the jinn, which is the 4th dimensional entities that control everything. And Morocco itself, in Marrakesh, where I lived, the city itself is built on a plan that is Metatron's cube. And this is where it gets really weird, right? The story I'll tell you in a second. But when I got there, I got the black eye immediately, right? And that's when you get cursed. And I had that. I had a kind of what I described it at the time as culture shock. You know, so I had a bit of a meltdown, and I didn't like it for the first few months. But then I got into it, and I got into the vibe of it, and I loved the people. But there was an expat community there, which was very interesting, because I mean, there's loads of things that I can't tell you all of these things because a lot of these people are still around, but I will write it all down in a book one day. But one of the weird things that I found out later was that I wrote this poem. Where is it? I should play it for you, actually. Can I play you a poem and I'll explain?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
Let me just find this poem.
This is so awesome.
I'll just play this poem. It's just a minute long.
Sure.
Then I'll explain why it's interesting. If we, how do I share that? Let me just. So this poem's called "There and Back Again."
Okay.
Right. So I put out a lot of poems during the COVID years, and this I'll play it first, and then I'll explain it.
Okay.
There and back again. Ma ha ka wa ta he ta wa ka ha ma. There and back again. Do you see? Multi-dimensional beings are we. From the energy of the first light, through the calendar of the light of days, with the veil down, we were in a haze. 1 to 10 and back again. In the darkness we held each other tightly until the light came. The dragon blood, the Taki, the Akashic potentiality. At the speed of memory, we came, there and back again. From the I am to the we are, we came far, there and back again.
Wow. That's beautiful. Tell me about that.
Okay, so ma, ha, ka, wa, ha, ti. Each one of those sounds is ancient Lemurian multi-dimensional sounds. All our language is a English in particular is a spell. It was created for us to create this prison, right? So those sounds are original sounds from the ancient world. And Ma, Ma, is the first light of creation. It's the energy of the first light of creation. And I was taught this by Huna Flash about 5 years ago. And one day I was just like, there's this thing that in Maori and Lemurian sort of tradition, which is called dragon riding, where you make these sounds, boom, 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 and then you come back that way again. And I was like, there and back again. I was like, that's interesting. There and Back Again is the name of the book that Bilbo Baggins was writing about his A Hobbit's journey. It was called There and Back Again. And I was like, hang on. Tolkien said that he wrote the Lord of the Rings based upon the true history of the earth, found in books underneath Oxford University. And he said that in a radio interview in 1959 in Amsterdam, and he wrote Lord of the Rings in the 1930s. And that's weird because where I live right now, there's a place just up the road which I love going to called Carrickeel, and behind it is a place called Gollum's Cave. So it's all connected. And then when I was looking at the Ma, because that's what we're going through. We're going through. When I was on tour in America on the Truth Tour with Lewis Herms, and
Yeah.
I was with Janine Morigo in the car, and we stopped on this Native American reserve, and I just took my boots off because I've been in the car for 10 hours, and I was stood on the grass, and this Native American girl came up to me, and she just looked at me and went, "My people say we are walking through a dream we've already had," and then she walked off, and I was like, there and back again. Ma ha ka wa ta he. And the Ma, and then while I was doing the podcast, I was like, hang on a minute, my name's Mark Anthony, Mark Attwood, Ma. I lived in Manchester. I worked in marketing. My first house was on Markington Street. I moved to Marrakesh, which is in Morocco, the real name for which is Maghreb. I was like, Ma, my whole life. This is the Matrix. Yeah. So that's.
Oh my gosh, Mark, what the heck? That's pretty mind blowing.
No, that's only just 1% of it. It's nuts. So when you understand all this stuff, you move past fear. Right? Because fear is the biggest control mechanism they have. Satan's biggest weapon is fear. The fourth dimensional entities, fear. That's all they have. That's why demons are so scary looking, because it's fear control, right?
Yes.
We are way more powerful than they could ever imagine that they could ever be. And I think that's what this period is all about. It's learning how powerful we really are. And
yes,
we're eternal souls. So what's everybody worried about? Pantavirus? Who cares?
Right. Exactly. And so I just have to pick your brain here for a little bit because this is it's such an incredible experience to be able to talk to you. So do you believe that we signed up to be here right now at this period?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
1,000%.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe that this period is unlike any other time and we're actually going to break out of this thing? Tell me what your thoughts are about this.
We've already won it. We already won it. We're multidimensional. What we are here is a point of attention, and we're just a small percentage of our true monad, which is massive, right? And we're operating on multiple dimensions. In this Mark Attwood character that I'm playing at the moment, it's just a short-term role that I chose to play, and that's that, and you're the only one here. And that's a head melter, but you're the only one here. We are all individual representations of God.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get that, you realize it's a game, and it's a game that we're going to win because in the other dimensions, it's already done. But here, we're watching it play out, and then we get, oh, what's going on? Why is Trump's doing this? Trump's doing that? And it's like, oh, it's amazing when you understand it. It's just incredible.
Yes.
I think, for me, it's been an amazing journey for me myself personally, but or for all the people that I've met on this, it's just extraordinary. And I feel very strongly that a lot of us are here to offer a hand over the bridge like this.
Yes.
And I think
Agreed.
that's what it's about. I didn't understand why I was doing the podcast in the beginning, because what was happening was, because it was COVID, there were the podcasts were just exploding, and it was like, whoa. And then some people started to realize, oh, there's money here, and now I'm famous. And I was like looking at them going, I didn't do it for that reason. But this might go on for a long time. And it kind of took over my life. But I did stop it a few times, going just to reevaluate why I was doing it. And one of the things one of my pet hates is the word intel, because there was a lot of people saying, I've got new intel, and then the viewing figures will go through the roof. And then I realized they were just repackaging other people's information, because when COVID happened, I'd already been a conspiracy theorist for 20, 30 years. I already knew about the New World Order. I already knew about satanic ritual. I knew about most of it. I wasn't waking up. I was like watching something that I knew was coming for a long time. And there were a lot of other people who were just like waking up and then going online. And great, they helped wake up a lot of people. But I realized that wasn't my role. And it was only when I did the tour in America in 22, and that was weird. That was weird because, we had to have Joe Biden. Where's Joe? Joe's gone. He's gonzo, right? I mean, Joe Biden was like allegedly the president. Obviously, that wasn't Joe Biden. But we had to have proof of vaccine, proof of tests to get into America. So I got all these fake papers. And I was stood in the queue with this pile of papers, watching everybody in front of me getting carted off to an interview room. And I was like, oh my God, if I get caught with these fake papers, what's going to happen to me? And then I got, oh, you'll be fine. So I was like, okay, I'll be fine. So I got to the desk and I threw the papers down. And the guy looked at me and he said, have you got any tobacco on you? And I went, that's a weird question. I said, yeah, I've got some fags in my bag. And he said, we don't use that word here. Welcome to America. And I just walked in. I walked in and I was looking over my shoulder like that. And then when we got to America, we were followed by UFOs on the whole trip. We did 17,000 miles, I think, 17 cities. I can't remember the exact number of miles. 17 always comes up anyway. But we drove around the whole country. And we were followed by UFOs the whole way round. I remember seeing a really weird one in New York at like 7 a.m. Anyway, that's another story. But and then we got a private air show from the United States Air Force in Cheyenne. And just loads. And then we had witches at every event. We were having spells cast on us and all this. It was amazing. That's why I made a film. Did you ever see the film I made about that?
I started watching it. I haven't finished it, but that's a must see for sure.
That's
for everybody to go to.
I knew we should record it just in case this stuff that we were doing was kind of historical in any way. I thought, I'm going to record this. It's not on there. It's on YouTube. I put it live on Christmas.
Yes, and
it's called Where You Attwood, Truth Across America.
And it's on your website.
Yeah, correct? But it's not. You can't watch it.
Right.
You can't watch it on my website needs updating because I'm not very good at that stuff. But
wow.
I'll show people where. But it's worth watching if you want to. I mean, it's good fun. I mean, what was really important to me is that we were there. It is. That's it. I put it up live on Christmas Day. It's been very important to me that we have fun during this whole period, even though it's not easy when you know that people are dying and there's genocide and there's war. You still got to enjoy your life. And I think the whole thing, from a spiritual point of view, has been to teach everybody first about sovereignty over their
Right.
health, their thoughts, their spirituality, their wealth, everything, right? We have, and
Right.
a lot of us are taking far more responsibility than we ever did for all of those things, right? Learning and being
Yes.
critical thinking, you know, all of that kind of,
Right.
these things are growing now, right? Which is wonderful to see. And they weren't. We were completely subjugated, and willingly so. Even though I was a rebel my whole life, I still played the game to some degree. Now I just refuse to play it and I do my own thing.
Mhm.
And I think everybody should, you know, as I think Donald Trump said, you can't have sovereign nations without sovereign individuals.
Exactly. That's
And
so true.
it's
So
beautiful.
it's so beautiful, and I just love talking to people like you, Mark, who have that bigger understanding, because you have that bigger understanding, because you do lose all that fear, and you just have a peace and a love of life, for why we're here. And before I keep going on to that, I just have a curiosity. You know, when did you when did you start to understand that there are certain people like Prince Philip or whatever that actually aren't all human? And is that really a thing? And what are your thoughts about that?
So when I really started looking into the pedophilia side of things, and once you start really digging into the SRA side of things, and then you realize this is so horrific.
Yeah,
It's so horrific. And I know not a lot of people can deal with it. I was having that conversation with
right.
somebody today. I was like, I just find it strange that I can hold that information and still get on with my life. Not without consequence. You know, it's
Mhm.
not easy holding that information. But I've had this argument for quite a long time. Some people have said to me, like even 15 years ago, a famous colleague of mine in the UK said, "Look, Mark, it's all an inside job. Stop talking about that stuff." And my argument was like, but the people don't even know who the enemy is.
Yeah,
How can we win a war when you don't even know who the enemy is, right? Because
right.
the enemy is hidden.
Yeah,
And um, during all my research, I I think I first came across the idea of reptilians through David Icke, and that's the one thing that got the most ridicule for him and for anybody that sort of backed it up. But I've seen things, and I think when you realize how depraved and awful, the thing that gets me out of bed every day is that 22,000 children have gone missing every single day, at least since the Second World War. Those are
right.
official statistics, official,
Wow.
which means it's at least double that, right? And
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the details on this show, but people watching this will know. Some people watching this will know
They
how bad it is. And when you understand how bad it is, you realize that when you try to tell other people, they don't believe you because they can't
Right,
imagine another human being
right.
doing that. And that's the
Yes.
point. They're not human. They can't be, because a human being would never do that to a child.
Right,
You couldn't
right.
do it. It's just beyond our comprehension. I mean, to do any of those things. And that's when I started realizing, okay, this is demonic. That's why I wrote this book, The Weapons of Mass Protection.
Aha.
Practical tools
Excellent.
for spiritual warfare. This is a really handy book for anybody that wants to learn about spiritual protection. Because I was blessed with, I had an Obi-Wan in my life about 15 years ago, started teaching me protection and developing my psychic abilities. I didn't even know why at the time. He's passed on now. He's one of my spirit guides. So, this kind of stuff is real. And that's when I realized they can't be human. It was just sort of dawned on me over time. They can't be human.
Yeah.
They
And
just
so what do you think of the royal family and Lady Di's role in that?
Well, that's two questions. I think, yeah. I mean, I met Charles as well when I was about 11. I met Diana I think it was when I was 15. She came and opened a post office in Northampton where I lived, and I was a cadet then. And so I grew up in the same place as Diana comes from, Northampton. And I don't know fully, but I do, these guys are obsessed with bloodlines and stuff, and I don't know
Right.
I don't claim to know there's a lot of people say, well, this happened or that happened, and she's still alive, and it wouldn't surprise me if she was still alive, and it wouldn't surprise me if she was bred for the job, but her soul had a different mission. That's why my feeling is that, and her soul, like the rest of us, probably started to realize this as she was in it. I mean, she actually said they're not human. Diana actually said that.
Really?
Yeah, look it up. She actually
I
said they're
will.
not right. And I think they realized they had a loose cannon on deck and they had to get rid of her. But I do hope she's still alive. And
Mm-hmm.
she did amazing things within that family that they couldn't cope with. That's why they didn't put the flag up when she died, because they hated her. That's why she was she would talk about she would set up raising money for people that play, landmines. She would go into
That's
wards.
right.
She would hold hands with people who had HIV, AIDS. I
Yeah.
mean, she's amazing. And
Yes.
so I do hope she's still alive, but I don't know,
Yeah.
and I don't think you're supposed to know at this stage. I mean, that would be
No.
the ultimate beautiful thing if Elvis and Diana and Prince and all these, all came on stage and Trump was there and they all started dancing, doing
I
the wine.
know.
That's like a conspiracy theorist wet dream, but
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is I'm optimistic about the outcome, and I think the royal family were all taken out quite a long time ago.
I was going to ask you that. So that wasn't Charles who just came to the United States.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that was the king of sausage fingers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I got some very big fingers.
Wow.
Beautiful fingers, big fingers, great fingers. I mean, I loved all. I mean, it's a show. We're watching a show.
It is a show. I know. It really, really is. So the last thing I want to touch on, when did your spirituality, your connection with God, when did that start to grow? And then did it take a boom one time when you were an adult and it really kicked in, or has it been gradual all along?
Well, it was massive when I came in. I talked to God all day, every day as a child. And I was like that. And I had a very religious great grandfather, and I used to go to church with him, and I loved him to pieces. He died when I was 11, but I named my first son after him. He was just an amazing, amazing, beautiful man. And then what happened was my dad died when he was 37 years old. He had a brain hemorrhage, and I had to turn the life support machine off because my mother couldn't answer the question, because she spent 2 days trying to wake him up like this, and was, and I was 17 years
Oh my
old.
gosh.
The doctor said to me, we can't get a response. Can we turn the life support machine off? And I thought, I was 17. I mean, my God,
Yeah.
I've got a 21-year-old, and I look at him and I think he's a kid. And I was 17. And I said, well, yes, because I couldn't see how anyway, I spent the next 30 years. I came out of the chapel of rest after seeing my dad lying in state, and I just shouted up at the sky, I hate you.
Mm.
So I would have turned myself. I just thought, there can't be a God. There cannot be a God to cause this much pain in my life. And one of my sons just came in.
Okay, no problem.
So I became what I would call agnostic, I suppose. I just didn't think it was possible. But now I understand it all a lot better. And then, I think it was probably in the 2000s, late 2000s, I started getting flashbacks. I started getting flashbacks to having out-of-body experiences, the demonic stuff that I'd kind of tucked away in a box. These boxes started opening. And then I started seeing numbers back in 2010, 2011, 1111 everywhere, and then 222. And I was like, what is this? I couldn't understand what it was. And then I had to look into it. And then I was like, and then I went down the plant medicine road, the vegan road, the raw food road. I did everything. I took ayahuasca, peyote, I did everything, magic mushrooms. did all of this stuff, and realized there was a lot of spiritual snobbery out there, and realized the New Age was a load of bollocks. And then I went on, and then I was, when I came here, I was I thought I'd lost everything. I got divorced from my wife. I thought I'd lost my business, my home. I came from a palatial life in Morocco then I ended up in this little cottage in the west of Ireland, and it was torrential rain, freezing cold, and I was like, what went wrong? And I was drinking every day. I was suicidal, basically. And then God saved me and said, no, you're not done yet. And that was that. I just like, okay. He said, you've got work to do. And I was like, okay, I'll do what you say. I've just been following orders ever since. And it's amazing. And God is 100% real. The devil is 100% real as well. And we're in the greatest spiritual war in history. And anybody watching this that doesn't think that this is the most extraordinary time to be alive is missing. I'm sure that everybody watching this gets that. And it's an individual journey. You're all individuals. I love that scene in Life of Brian. You're all individuals. I'm not. It's yeah, we've all got to take this. Nobody's above anybody else. There's no competition here. It's just a case of like, can you live in the present moment, and can you take responsibility for yourself and your family? All this stuff. I mean, all of this stuff led me to open a healing center. Did you know about the healing center we opened?
No.
Okay, let me show you that. So 3 years ago, I got, I'll just share the screen. I got a message, basically. There was a friend of mine who'd had 4 jabs. And I said to him one day, if you don't do something about those jabs, you're going to drop dead. And he laughed at me. And then he dropped dead.
Oh.
And then I got this message, open a healing center. And I got this friend here, Gary, who we'd already talked about healing centers before COVID. And anyway, we went and I went and knocked at his door, and I said, well, let's open a healing center. And this is it, live5dhealth.com.
Oh.
And we've all of everything we know. There's Gary. Water, hyperbaric oxygen, red light, pulse electromagnetic field therapy, Brown's gas, quantum healing, brain entrainment, oxygen, Tesla violet ray, dolphin neurostim, pain genie. We've got loads of stuff, and we've been running retreats here for a couple of years. It's a real divine mission, and I was only meeting people yesterday that have come from Canada and Switzerland. We get people from all over the world come to visit us, and we've got nearly 900 franchise inquiries for this. And we didn't set it up to be a big global business. We set it up because people need healing. So we built this thing as a private, all in the private. It's not an LLC, it's not a limited company, it's a private members association. Everything's done through trusts. It's donation based. Nobody gets turned away. If they haven't got any money, it's free. We just had an amazing journey with that. And we're making frequency enhanced leading edge supplement, and we've got some amazing stuff coming up that I've not mentioned to anybody yet, but we're going to mention soon. And that was divine guidance. But it's also the reason why it appealed to me was because I remember the Buckminster Fuller quote from the 50s. He said, you can't fight this system, you have to build the world that you want now. So that's why we did it. We built a healing center. We've got clients from all over the world, and I've been it's the hardest thing in Ireland to sell is something that's free. I've told people it's free. If you haven't got any money, it's free. And they're like, what's the catch?
Yeah. Can you say the website one more time, the actual name of the website?
Live, Live, 5D, live 5D, number 5, letter D, health.com.
Okay.
It's amazing project, and everybody watching this is welcome to come and visit. We have people come all the time, and if you do come, I will often go and have a coffee with you, and we'll, everybody's welcome. We've done loads of live events here. We've done tons of stuff, and we get attacked all the time. We've got one of Ireland's biggest demons lives in the next village. She's always attacking us, and it's quite fun actually. It's like, it's a bit of a game.
So, I mean, this is wild. So do you think we are going into, because God wins, God has won, obviously. We are going into this golden age, and what's going to happen to those demons across the way when the golden age happens?
I don't know. I mean, I'll miss them, to be honest. I've been saying for a long time, I don't know what I'm going to do when COVID ends. I mean, what I'd really like, I mean, not COVID, this period.
Yeah.
I mean, my other passions are cooking, cars, and flying. So I'd like to set up YouTube channels doing that and go into the sunset. But I don't know how it's going to play out exactly. And I think that's the point. We're not supposed to know exactly how it's going.
Right.
Everybody that tells you is guessing, and everybody that tells you with
Yes.
certainty is lying, right?
Yes.
You just gotta, you either trust God or you don't. It's pretty simple. And every day I just go, look, I trust you. I trust you. It's as simple as that. What can I do today? How can I be a better man? How can I help people more? Are my kids going to be okay? This is this simple stuff.
Yes. Yes. This has been the greatest interview, Mark, and people are going to love this so much, and I'm so grateful that you spent time with me so that the audience can hear everything you're doing. And you're so right about everything. We're just supposed to trust God and do the best that we can do in our lives and try to just be optimistic and light the way for other people. And you're definitely the definition of that. So thank you, Mark, so much for just being a.
You're not allowed to get rid of me unless I can play one more poem.
Okay. Please.
And this poem is dedicated to everybody watching. And how this came about was insane. So I won't explain it. I'll just play it. It's for everybody here.
Awesome.
I see you twinkling in the sky, shimmering in Van Gogh's eye, sparkling as the starseed you really are. You've come so far. Born onto the facsimile earth, all memories erased. Not one iota of your talents, of the children you once raised. I see you. You never felt accepted. You never felt the same. Your friends and family alien, often seemed insane. They pointed fingers at you. They laughed behind your back. Whilst you were dancing with fairies and angels, you were on a different track. I see you. You felt alone. You did your best. You smiled through all the pain. They beat you and abused you. They knew you'd come to end their reign. As winters came and summers left, the leaves fell over years. The spirit voice inside your soul grew louder through your tears. I see you. They broke you down, they tricked you, they stabbed you through the heart. They feasted on your effervescence, they relished you apart. They stole your youth, they stole your money, convinced you they were right. But every time they ripped you open, closer came their night. I see you. Like the caterpillar at the end of life, entombed inside the cocoon. The hero's journey final act, when all seems certain doom. Those belittle words of faith and belief diminish amidst the noise, yet you hold on, you won't let go. For the battle, you are poised.
I see you!
Deep, deep down, you hear the cry. In remembrance, you answer, yes. The fight was laid before you. To come is yet the best. Besmirched, belittled, tossed aside, you nearly lost your way. Letting go of all beloveds, you tried your truth to say, I see you. As the veil it dissipated, as all the solids melted, the remnants left fought their way to sovereignty, once doubted. You stood your ground, you found your power, your strength became unbounded. For you are the warrior child of this world. In your brilliance, our future founded. I see you.
My goodness gracious.
It's got me crying.
So, that is the first time I've ever cried on my own podcast. But
I'm crying.
yeah, I mean, but that's what we're living through right now, and it's just so cool. I mean, it's so amazing that there are people like you here right now that are doing these things because that's it. That's exactly what we're living right now, and it touches my heart so much because this is what it's about. And oh my goodness, what a time to be alive, Mark. And what I'm so happy you have things like that out there for people to watch. Thank you for all you do. You know, this has just been the greatest interview, and you're just so wonderful. So thank you for everything, and thank you for all you're doing. And I hope someday to meet you because
You will.
you're
We'll all meet. We'll all meet. We'll all have a. We're gonna have a massive party.
massive, massive
Massive.
party.
Huge, huge party.
Huge, exactly. Thank you so much, Mark. God bless
Thank you,
you,
Ellen.
and have a wonderful, wonderful time.
Take
Thank you for
care.
everything.
My pleasure.
Okay,
Take
bye
care.
bye.
Bye bye.